and thanks for staying on LN 24/7. This is Politics Now. My name is Morno Balagbobo, still reeling and feeling the vibe of the new year. And we do hope it is going to be a prosperous one. Happy New Year to you today. Of course, we've got a great show packed for you today. So let's just start with the first conversation we'll be talking about, which has to do with 2025. We're looking at the prospects of good governance. And we just got two talking points that we will be looking into. The first one has to do with X-raying Tinubu's New Year message, and then 2025 agenda. What government should do? That's the question that has been on the minds of a lot of us. Well, our first guest, Toye Inyoribi Bakanista, will be joining us shortly. He's a public affairs analyst. But before we get to him, we've got our very own senior political analyst in-house with us, talking about Ayobami Adeyemo. Good to have you on the show. Happy New Year. You're shining. You're looking good. I mean, you're just glowing.
Thank you so much. Well, it's 2025, so we expect that we're going to experience a lot of, greatness, completeness, and perfection this perfect year. So.
And talking about perfection for Nigeria, because that seems to be what the president is driving in. But let's just give us a reminder of some of the thoughts the president shared with us. President Tinubu, in his 2025 New Year message, addressed Nigerians and said the country is on the path to greatness and that ongoing economic reforms offer many hopes for the masses. He added that vital reforms are capable of positively reshaping the economic and political landscape of the country. He promised renewed hope for all citizens, including vital economic reforms capable of reshaping the economic and political landscape of the country. Now, though 2024 posed numerous challenges, according to the president, he says he is confident that the new year will bring brighter days. Economic indicators, he says, points to a positive and encouraging outlook for our nation. He says fuel prices have gradually decreased and we've recorded foreign trade surpluses in 3 consecutive quarters. Foreign reserves have risen and the naira has strengthened against the US dollar, bringing greater stability. He says the stock market's record growth has generated trillions of naira in wealth, and the surge in foreign investment reflects renewed confidence in the economy. Nevertheless, he mentions the cost of food and essential drugs remains a significant concern for Nigerian households in 2024. Well, in 2025, he says that our government is committed to intensifying efforts to lower these costs by boosting food production, promoting local manufacturing of essential drugs and other medical supplies. And he says the government is resolute in its ambition to reduce inflation from its current high of 34.6% to 15%. That's right. That's what the president said. So with diligent work and God's help, he says, we will achieve this goal and provide relief to all our people. So he says in this new year, his administration will further consolidate and increase access to credit for individuals in critical sectors of the economy. So that's the number one promise of the president for 2025. He says he will establish the National Credit Guarantee Company, which expands risk-sharing instruments for financial institutions and enterprises. 2, unveil the National Values Charter. I think that's to boost patriotism in the state. And then the Youth Confab, he says, will begin in the first quarter of 2025. Ayobami, those are, well put together New Year message. He basically touched on everything that the reality of things, because sometimes, the government can be so out of touch. But what did you make of this message?
Well, I expect that the president will definitely push out, the positive part, the good side of its achievement in 2024. And of course, try to raise more hope in 2025, which he has done. He did in his speech. However, many opposition parties or many persons have also, called on the president to really look deep into the reality in town. Many people have raised the concern about, the hardship, which you also mentioned. The president mentioned, the cost of living and the hardship in town. Many people have pointed out to the reality that also we all experienced, during the festive period. I'm talking about the stampede that happened, in Abuja, or your state, Ibadan. and of course in the eastern part of Nigeria, where many people were killed, lives were lost. It reflects the cost of living in our country, Nigeria. But let me go straight to his meeting with the governors when they had the homage. They paid him homage at his house in Ikoyi in Lagos, when the president was talking about the all 36 states must, sit back and see how they can look at programs that will develop from the grassroots. He talked about, the food agricultural productivity, which he has been driving about, talking about that so much. Every state must really look at how they can do that and make agricultural productivity come in play for food security, food cost of living and food prices to come down in a very ridiculous price as the case may be. Talking about the points he also mentioned, he talked about access to funds, for capitals, for loans and everything. It's high time we look at what are the measures that we need to put in place. How do we have, some startups packages for young people that he wants to involve, he wants to engage with. And the young people that he will be engaging with, that comfort that he mentioned during the protest in August.
Yes.
That's the end bad governance protest that he mentioned, that there will be a comfort for the youth. So 2025, he announced it, he promised it. This is the 2025. I was talking to some selected people, and I said, for this youth comfort, how do we have a proper representation of the Nigerian youth there? Hope we're not going to have, political affiliated ones in the confab. Do we have people that will actually speak the mind of the Nigerian youth? I'm not talking about, the youth that are registered under a political platform, probably PDP, Labour Party, APC, NNPP, ABGA, and many others. But I'm talking about the youth that will really come out to say, well, this is our agitation, this is our demand, this is what we want. We don't want what happened in Kenya to happen. I want to create a platform for other African nations to see that, yes, Nigeria is a country that, stand out at large. The youth must be engaged effectively. The president has mentioned it. You also recall that, the FCT minister, Yusun Wike, also did a very fast one in 2024, creating, a youth forum where he appointed...
and also key stakeholders,
where, the secretary had secretaries and everybody. And some people have also given him, kudos on that and said, some other people have also questioned him, queried him that, who are these? How do they, select or elect them? Are they representatives from the grassroots, or they're just political, members or party, members, as the case may be? So for 2025, I expect that President Bola Tinubu will handle some critical things. One, security. At just the end of 2024, we saw what happened, the mistake, because the Vice President Kashim Shettima called it the mistake that happened, where the defense headquarters, the army, actually, the airstrike that clashed, a community in Sokoto, as the case may be. So we must look at security. There is a resurgency, the Lakurawa, that is coming up from that region. How do we tackle that? We also have Boko Haram that has been, in the forefront. We're fighting Boko Haram.
And not to talk of kidnapping, because, I was talking to Dr. Okwari, a security analyst on politics now, and he was saying that that's the new insecurity in the country, because they feel like, this one is so easy and less stressful. And that's a big front for the government.
Yeah. Kidnapping is actually one of those particular things he needs to look deep into, because the ransom, the revenue they generate in this kidnapping, I cannot really pick up the data as we speak right now, but it's over billions of naira in just few months in this country, Nigeria. You know how much that is? So it's a revenue, it's a means of revenue for those, the non-state actors that are actually looking for, causing mayhem and crisis in Nigeria. So the president and his cabinet, and of course the defense unit, they must look deep into that. I was happy when I read, the NSA, that is
Nuhu
Ribadu, talk about the achievements in the past year, 2024, and raising hope and telling Nigerians that we will do better. matter. They are looking at how they will get, a designated number, a number that will be for pure emergency calls, so that they can have a swift, response and, interactions with people, which we believe that is good. We see that in other countries, developed countries. You just dial 911, you get a rescue team come to your aid immediately. What do you die in Nigeria? Probably even if anybody calls you a distress call in Nigeria, before you pick, it might have ended.
Well, the question when you talk about insecurity with that initiative is the bureaucracy that, has ravaged the system. Because sometimes you go to the police station, you want to handle a case, and they are wondering if it's not a big, so-called case. They just toss it aside and all of that. And then Nigerians don't seem to trust the system anymore.
You see, it's a big deal. I'm also a security expert. I was trained in Dubai as a security expert, so I can tell you that I have authority to talk about security, as the case may be. It's a big deal, and when I was being trained, what to tell everybody is that security is every man's business. It's not about who is in charge. It's every man's business. You see something, you say something, you say it loud, and communicate effectively, timely, and being prompt is very critical when you talk about security issues. So for security in Nigeria, the police will do a lot in building that trust back. The judiciary system will do a lot, in building the trust back. And of course, the government at large will do a lot in building the trust back. So fighting security is every man's business. And the community will also do a lot in cooperating, having a cooperative, atmosphere with the security agencies. Everybody mentioned that they said it's all of us. We must work together to see how this works. And of course, the Chief of Defense Staff, talking about General Christopher Musa, also mentioned it, that we must, at this point, see how we can work together. And the Vice President, Kashim Shettima, also mentioned it. He said, well, there's some mishaps, mistakes that happen in terms of, fighting, combating, and being in the field. But however, these people are out there. They are actually fighting for the nation. We must rally around them, support them effectively. It's not 2025. I expect that, apart from calling on the federal government, Nigerians should also see how we can work the security agencies, see how we can escalate immediately, effectively. It starts from the community level to the highest level that you can imagine. And, apart from security, one of the things I also expect that the president would do is more of inclusive, governance. Inclusive governance in the sense that in 2024, a lot of clamoring about a particular region were very favored in terms of appointments, in terms of, concentrating more development towards that direction. I expect that in projects, major projects, it must be, inclusive. It must bring up a lot of people that will talk about matters that matter. Example, a tax reform bill. That was one of those big talking points.
It's still a big talking point.
At the end of 2024.
And Peter Obi, yesterday made mention of the fact that, concrete conversations needs to be done so that some people are not disenfranchised. But the tax reform, when you look at it theoretically, is a good thing. But how does the president, deal with this backlash? Now, bearing in mind that the president, he's the grandfather of Nigerian politics for now. So how does politics not, destroy the benefit that bill has?
Well, it's very simple and it's complicated, as the case may be. I know that Mr. Taiwo has been running around, explaining so much, about how this whole tax reform bill is going to help everybody. And you also recall part of the tax reform bill too, education sector is saying that this is not good for them. Scrapping, TED fund, putting the whole budget bulk of.
They're also calling for the tax reform bills not to be implemented.
So it's interwoven. It's a massive one. But part of what Peter Obi mentioned, which I feel it's one of the things we should not politicize it. Let's learn and see how we can really learn from it. Is make Nigeria a productive nation before you start taxing them. Make sure that the nation is productive, is producing a lot before you now start pushing those, reforms on every citizen. It might not be every citizen, as what Mr. Tai has been saying, but the majority people, the manufacturers will be taxed. So majorly,
and that will, trickle down to the people. Now, you also look at Labour, who is saying that they are going to push for another minimum wage because they didn't envisage that things was going to get this difficult. You look at the price of fuel, which the president in his New Year message said has come down. So, I mean, things are pretty not really easy for Nigerians. So now Labour is saying another push for new minimum wage. Yeah. I mean, this is a whole lot of pressure for the president.
No doubt about that. I still say it, and I'll keep saying it, that I was disappointed when the Labour Union, settled for less. When, without that protracted, negotiation period, which, eventually got to the point that from 400 and something thousand, you recall, to 250,000 naira, then eventually proved from nowhere. In fact, many people have, predicted it's going to be about 150 as the benchmark. So let's everybody know that, okay, 150, but from nowhere. We saw the drama here and there, meetings upon meeting, like I said, protracted negotiation, and eventually it became 70,000 naira. It is unrealistic. No doubt about that. And the unrealistic, experience is all in our faces right now. But, the new call from the Labour Union, I hope they'll be more serious about that. I mentioned it before, and I think I should also say it.
But they were the ones who signed 3 years, renewal of agreement. So I wonder how they will be able to push that with the president. But anyway, when you look at it, it's really baffling to me because the president will say, okay, we can't afford this particular amount. But at the same time, when people see the expenses, like the presidential jet, the vehicle that was purchased and, the VP's residence and all of these things, you recall Peter Obi was also calling on the president to reduce the cost of governance.
Is it insensitive of the government to, feel that Nigerians are not looking and not watching? When some persons will come and tell us that, well, do you want to kill the president? We need to buy a new craft, aircraft. And somebody will tell you that, no, what do you expect from the president? We need to, get him, this particular, and the vice president needs a befitting place. And, a minister will look deep and say, well, it's just the judiciary I want to benefit so much. Let me give them, more building, more structures, more...
300% salary increase.
Salary increase and everything like that. So, many Nigerians will just want to say that, well, this is not sensitive of the government at this point in time. We expect that, at this point, everybody will be very sober, in terms of spending, in terms of, projects and many other activities and policies that you want to put in place. Since the government and the president and the presidency have been saying, give us time. Be patient with us, bear with us. We also expect that the presidency will also, bear with the situation and cut down the cost. And that is why most Nigerians, most of the people that agitated at that period, which we all covered, that protest in August, they were all out saying that this is not the time. Food cost is high. Transportation was high, it's still high at that point. But
the cost of drugs, treating yourself.
Drugs, you just don't want to imagine a lot of minor things. I was saying it, that 100,000 naira, the value of 100,000 naira is like a 10,000 naira, just some years, a few years ago. And people always say we should not remember the past. But some people say even in the time of the past administration, it wasn't as bad as this, but however, 2025 is a promising year. I just believe that the hope, must just keep the hope alive. Why? One, during December, we saw the price of a PMS drop. That's an indication that, well, we're still moving.
That was a bonanza for Christmas.
We're still buying at 9, in other filling station 980, in NNPC or lesser than that. So I expect that, with the new refineries that we've been shouting working right now.
That one is cracking. It's not producing fuel. But I don't know. Let me not be too pessimistic. But there are good pointers to development and economic prosperity.
Yeah.
But we would watch for the president because recall in 2014. 2024, I mean, he gave projections that inflation was going to drop to a certain amount, and that did not happen. We're at 34%. So the miracle that's going to happen to come to 15%.
17%, you know. And, you know, I also recall when Mr. Wale Edun was at the Senate trying to defend why, you know, we must also, the achievement they made, and we must also keep borrowing. You know, he talked about, you know, how much, you know, we've been able to reduce the inflation, the monies that we've been able to save. And I'm surprised when it was about 1.7 trillion. And, you know, Labour are coming out to say, well, we are not really happy about this particular achievement from the government. When you talk about after the subsidy, this is the amount you've been able to save. You know, it's really a step in the right direction, but the pace. We used to have a slow motion president. But now we have a president that gives, you know,
a supersonic fast president.
Policy, you know, with ash and, you know, strong fist, and I don't want to say iron fist, with strong fist.
And Nigerians are still complaining.
So what exactly do we want?
Honestly,
let's be hopeful in 2020.
Yeah, we need to be hopeful. Thank you so much, Ayobami Adeyemo, for coming on Politics Now. Of course, you see him on other programs right here on LN 24/7. We'll take a quick breather. When we come back, we'll delve into Edo local government crisis. To stay with us. We'll be right back.
What makes the political system what it is today? What are the recurring issues?
Order.
The tussle for power.
An extremely problematic area.
The tension. The instability of the system. Join LN 24/7 as we take you inside the local and international political arena in the world of politics.
Apologize for saying that I was corrupt.
I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar.
Watch Politics Now on LN 24/7.
Don't miss Politics Now on LN 24/7.
Many thanks for staying with us. Still Politics Now. We're moving to Edo local government crisis. New year, new palaver, so they say. Let's bring you up to speed with our talking points. Local government invasion in Umwode local government area, and of course suspension of local government chairman. And guest will be joining us from Benin City in Edo State, Bobby Egbosa Abayuwana, who is a political analyst and of course a journalist. But let's bring you up to speed with what's been going on in the state even prior to the new year. The crisis in Edo State local government councils took a different dimension on Thursday. Several persons have been reportedly wounded as gunmen allegedly invaded the Uhumwode local government council headquarters in Ego. The chairman of the council, Kenneth Adodo, alleged that the people involved in the shooting were policemen from the Edo State government house, and we covered that on News Now on Thursday when the news broke. This followed reports of impeachment of chairman of Uhumwode and Ohoi 1 local government councils by elected councillors. Their Onwan East counterpart, Prince Aminu Okodo Kadiras, reacted swiftly to his own impeachment, and he maintained that his purported impeachment and that of his vice, Honorable Clement Ojebobo, was unconstitutional and illegal. The councillors in Ohon 1 had on Wednesday impeached the leader of the House, Honorable Daniel Osarimen, and replaced him with Honorable Chuk Sisan, as they claimed that Osarimen was being mobilized to impeach the chairman, Honorable Newman Ugwagbe, and his vice, Midwester Ogbebo. Now, the purportedly suspended leader Osarimen was alleged to have led unknown persons to take over the secretariat of the council in Abudu, where he purportedly resumed as the acting chairman of the local government area. In a statement by the chief press secretary to the Home One local government chairman, Roy Osarimen, the action in Abudu was illegal and that Niman Ugwabe remained the chairman of the local government area. Now, addressing journalists in Benin City on Thursday, the chairman of One East local government, Okodo Kadiri, said his purported impeachment processes were full of irregularities, which, according to him, went against the provisions of the law. Now, the latest incident comes about 3 weeks after the Edo State House of Assembly passed a resolution suspending all chairmen and vice chairmen of the 18 local government councils of the state for 2 months. The House also mandated the leaders of legislative arms to take over leadership of their respective councils. The governor of the state, Senator Monday Okpebholo, had written a petition to the House over the refusal of the chairman to submit financial records of their local government to the state government. In the letter, the governor described their action as an act of insubordination and gross misconduct, requesting the House to look into the matter. Well, there's just a whole lot of crisis in Edo State, and one begins to wonder what is going on. I thought the local government actually has its own house, so that should cater for gross misconduct. So what is the governor doing, in all the constituencies in the state to focus solely on what is going on in the local government? And are they not supposed to move past that to get into the business of the day, which is actually, doing the business that he has been elected to do? I actually personally reached out to the chairman of the APC in Edo State to come answer some questions, but I got no reply. So what we are going to be having right now is a conversation with, of course, a journalist and a political analyst in Edo State. Bobby, many thanks for joining us on the show.
Same to you, Mr. Bono Bala Bobo. It's always a pleasure to be here. Happy New Year, Nigerians.
So what can you tell us about the allegations of the invasion of local governments in the states? This is coming on the heels of the suspension of local governments and then the Federal High Court granting them back their jobs. So is this a situation where the government of the day, or the APC as alleged, is using these illegal, irregular means rather to install puppets into the seats of these local government chairmen?
Reliable sources talks that we have been able to ascertain the level of physical collateral damage that have been carried out by purported talks from the All Progressive Congress. Local governments like Ihuade, Orion, and Eastern West local government areas of the state saw talks being invaded upon in a Gestapo style. We actually saw incidences where there were bullet wounds in some instances, in some cases. Some persons actually had various degrees of injuries sustained across different parts of their bodies. We even saw blood, you understand, in some of the local government and parts of the local government areas that we were able to garner these stories from. And we even had pictorial and visual evidences to show that these local governments were invaded by folks from the All Progressive Congress purportedly. And before now, a certain Kelly Umariade, aka known as Baroko, came out with some other APC talks to actually prevent local government chairmen from local government areas like Oedo, Ego, and Obaha from gaining entrance into their secretariats. They carried out their various administrative duties, even while there was actually a ruling from the those state high courts and even the Supreme Court. And we all know that the Attorney General of the Federation, as well as the chief of staff to the president, have come outside to categorically state that local government autonomy has come to stay, and that the governor of those states, Senator Monday Okpebholo, does not have that locus standi to prevent local government chairmen from gaining entrance to their secretariat, and he as such does not have the right to prevent local government chairmen from carrying out their duties, as well as not having that same right to question the financial activities of these various
Now, our reporter told us on Thursday that police from Government House were actually pushed in. But you are saying that thugs, APC thugs, are the ones that actually came in to do the invasion. So can you just help us to make that clarification?
Now, that of the police was just to consolidate what the thugs actually did. The thugs were working, carrying out the directives of their respective political leaders, and the police officers from the government house could not prevent them. Before now, I can tell you for free that when local government areas like Ego, Ikubaka, and Oedo were invaded, we also saw the presence of security agencies like the Nigerian police, members of the Nigerian police. So the policemen only came to see how they can be able to reduce, to douse down the tension, whereas the collateral damage had already been carried out. So it's a case of the thugs operating on their own, and the same police from the same government trying to carry out their civil duties of maintaining calm, whereas the collateral damage had already been done. So if you even go to my Facebook wall and if you check several pages of the social media space, you would see a lot of gory pictures showing the evidence of how persons were manhandled, beaten, battered, and thrown out from these local government areas in a Gestapo style and in a very, very uncivilized and an undemocratic manner. So for me, in those states, as a resident here, I can tell you for free that the people are beginning to have this disconnection with the government of the day. I can tell you for free that the government of Senator Monday Okewulu is becoming more controversial than democratic as it ought to have been. And many persons are beginning to live in perpetual fear of not being attacked by these hoodlums and thugs from the APC. I even have friends who work in some of these councils, and they have told me that they are currently at home and they've been unable to resume their duties as aides to these local government chairmen and their vice chairmen because of the fact that the governor of the state has refused to obey the court order. You would agree that we saw a scenario where the Edo State House of Assembly unconstitutionally, illegally, and undemocratically suspended 18 local government chairmen over what they called gross misconduct and financial misappropriation. And if you look at the Constitution, Section 192 of our 1999 Constitution, as amended in 2011, and as also amended in 2024, as pertaining the local government autonomy, it is stated ex cathedra that local government administration should be carried out independently and devoid of any interferences from the state and the federal government. And this action of the current government of Edo State clearly violates the principles of separation of powers as established by the French philosopher Baron de Montesquieu in the 18th century. We don't need a situation where you'll be practicing democracy in theory and autocracy in the practical reality from the political scheme of things in this crime. So we are, those people are saying that they voted and democratically elected these local government chairmen. And as such, they should be allowed to carry out their administrative and constitutional duties so that the dividends of democracy can get to the people at the grassroots.
Now, from the reports from Thursday, 2 local government chairmen have been impeached, and according to the reports, they said it was not over and this was going to continue. So from what you have and from the information you've been able to gather, what can you tell us about the number of local government chairmen that have been impeached?
The local government chairmen that have been impeached so far are 3 local government chairmen from the reports I'm just getting now that have been impeached so far. Then we also saw a very funny scenario where 2 councillors from Onyomo local government area of Edo South senatorial district were used to purportedly impeach the chairman of the local government, King Newman Ugbabe. And we also saw a scenario, there's even a viral video where 9 council members from Onyomo local government have come outside to give a vote of confidence on the chairman. And they acted in accordance with the constitution, which states that it is the majority of the legislative assembly at the local government level that have the right to impeach, question, summon, or pass a vote of confidence on the local government chairman as it were. So what we are beginning to see in those states is a case of some of these political leaders playing Chidodo with the democratic value and trust of Edo people through their local government councils. And at this point, it is not just right. It is undemocratic, it is illegal, it is unconstitutional, and it does not reflect the dreams, yearnings, and general collective patrimony and aspirations of the good people of Edo State. Edo State has never had it like this, where a governor will come in less than 2 months and suspend the local government chairman across the 2 local government areas. And what some persons are beginning to say is that the local government chairman commits the same offense across board. Why is there no panel of investigation on inquiry to find out these allegations, to know the truism or the veracity behind these allegations? And constitutionally, does the state government have any rights, have any local standing to question the financial activities and the administrative capacity of local government, considering the fact that we now have a Local Government Autonomy Act of 2024? We even have a case where Garba versus the University of Maiduguri contested, and it was the Supreme Court Church gave a ruling that the local governments in Borno State should be allowed to carry out their duties devoid of statal intrusion or invasion from the federal government. We also have several case laws of the Attorney General of the Federation versus the Attorney General of Abia State 2024, and alongside 35 other Attorney Generals of the Federation. And the Supreme Court, in its wisdom, gave the judgment in favor of the Attorney General of the Federation, stating categorically, ex cathedra, in a locus classicus, that local governments now have autonomy and that the act should be followed to the latter without any form of democratic impunity or any form of intrusion from the political class, either from the state government or from the federal government.
I'm very curious, Bobby, because you seem to be justifying, the continuous governance of this local government chairman, describing what the APC versus the governor, is doing to, unseat them. I'm very curious to know the fate of these impeached local government chairmen. What's been their response to all of this alleged violence? Some of the pictures and images are just so disturbing, and we can't even show them for our viewers to see.
Okay. The responses we've been able to garner so far are, number one, King Newman Ugbabe, the chairman of the controversially accused chairman of Onyomo local government area of Edo South Senatorial District of Edo State, has categorically come out to say that he is a man who believes in peace and the rule of law, and that every local government council member should go on with their normal constitutional duties, that they will reach out to their lawyers and ensure that they use all legal means possible to fix culpability where culpability is, and for them to also make sure that they will use all manner of civility to return to their offices and carry out their duties. They are also warned that in the process of wanting to carry out their constitutional duties, and if they get to meet these talks or get to be embarrassed by this stuff, that the local government officials from Uno local government should shift grounds. He was also speaking ex cathedra and categorically as the local government council, the chairman of all local government chairmen in those states, that all his contemporaries and his colleagues in every other local government should toe the line of peace and should never subscribe to championing the program of violence that will in turn lead to administrative rascality, autocratic tendencies, and gross misconduct from their offices, considering the fact that he alleged that the APC, through the government of Senator Modi Obewole, are looking for every means possible to see how they can discredit their administration and see how they can oust them from office. So they are towing the line of peace, they are towing the line of legality, they want to follow the rule of law, and they want to ensure that they seek further redress in court. I've also gathered information that other local government chairmen have also written petition to the Edo State High Court and even to the Federal High Court in Abuja, trying to draw the attention of the presidency into this matter, trying to draw the attention of the Inspector General of Police into their respective local government councils so that there can be peace, law, order, civility, serenity, and tranquility in these respective local government areas across Edo State. But I can tell you what is happening currently in the streets of Benin City is that Edo people are beginning to live with their hearts in their mouths. If you go to the market, if you go to motor parks, Keke parks, Okada Rider parks, they will tell you that they are fed up with the political imbroglio and the political clash of interest between the respective political leaders from the two major political parties in Edo State, which are from the APC and from the PDP. And they are now saying that they need peace in Edo State because Edo State, before now, has been rated to be one of the most peaceful states in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We on our part, as representatives of the struggle and development communication, that have also reached out to the relevant stakeholders to tell them that they should continue to prevail on these political leaders to toe the line of peace and reduce any form of violence that they want to impede the peaceful coexistence of the good people of Edo State so that we can have sanity in our 21st century democratic practice on this ground.
Now, Bobby, has there been any response from the government to these allegations?
The response that we have gotten from the APC thus far is from one of its spokespersons, Honorable Passion Afegboa, wanting to justify the rationale behind the governor's interest to know about the financial activities of this local government chairman. And he was citing the local government Act number 10 of 2020, subsection 1, stating that the local government and the state government have joint accounts, and the local government also have every right to know the way monies are being spent and the way monies are being utilized by these various local government chairmen in their day-to-day running of the local government councils. But what we now said was that the responses so far is that there cannot be a court injunction and a motion that is considered to be illegal, unconstitutional, and undemocratic from the House of Assembly will not counter a court injunction that had been initially instituted by this local government chairman. That will be sub judice, that will be preempting the law, and that will amount to every form of undemocratic dealings from the state government. We had this interview with president from the Channels TV and even Arise TV wanting to defend the activities of the government. But I can tell you for free that the way this administration has gone so far, it has not really yielded the much expectations of hope, um, productive governance, and democracy in its entirety. Rather, we are actually seeing one controversial move of the state governor from one end to the other. Today, you will say that the local government chairmen do not have the right to resume their offices. Tomorrow, you will say that the panel of inquiry that you set up should come and give the report on the erstwhile governor of Edo State and the activities that he carried out. And Edo people are beginning to ask questions. Why is this governor not actually are not able to initiate or initialize his own projects? We are not seeing a visible project from this man. Instead, we have been going about trying to monitor the existing projects from the former administration that he actually took over from. And although people are beginning to ask the question, what are the strategic plans you have on ground? What are the action plans you have on ground? What is the template that you have to give us the best form of democracy that we deserve? Although people only want peace in their state, although people only want developmental strides to be the hallmark of any administration that puts the people first. Because although people believe that government is supposed to reflect the dreams, yearnings, and aspirations of the entire populace from this part of the country. So for now, the government of the day has faced so much criticism, and the response of Honorable Kasima Afegboa seems to be watery, undemocratic, doesn't reflect the yearnings of Edo people, and doesn't really bring about that sanity of democratic tendencies. We believe in the rule of law from this part, and we believe that if any government must operate successfully, the people must be put first before every other individual or collective political interest that will in turn transcend into democratic dividends for the good people of certain states.
Very apt, Bobby, with your analysis of the legality of all that has been playing out, despite the fact that the Federal High Court has ruled. Also, we reported that the AGF, came out in defense of these elected local government chairmen. Before we go, do you feel like other opposition parties that Edo is setting the stage for one-party system, which is something that opposition politicians have been pushing, the narrative rather, that is what they have been pushing. Is this the case in Edo State? And what are other political parties in Edo State saying about what is going on?
Thank you very much. For the PDP in Edo State, they have consistently brought out circulars to counter the harsh economic policies of the federal government and also counter the impunity moves and tendencies from the Edo State government, the current Edo State government, under the governor of Edo State, Senator Monday Etorolo. But we have not really seen any form of solid moves from other political parties that also contested or have been contesting elections in Edo State. It's as if maybe we now have a two-party system currently in Edo State. Even the third force that Nigerians generally, not just Edolites, used to see as an alternative to these two political parties, which is the Labour Party, are yet to make any meaningful statement regarding what has been transpiring in the political affairs and in the administrative cluster of the political system that we operate from this part, which is Edo State. So Labour Party has not given any statement. Any other allied political parties outside the People's Democratic Party and the APC have not been able to make any substantial statements as at now. And generally, Edolites are beginning to see that Nigeria is becoming a one-party state. If you look at the way elections have been conducted in the past 1 year across the country, you will understand that everything seems to be tilted towards the favor of the ruling party at the center. And this cause for worry amongst the good people of Edo State. Edo people believe not just in the political party or the government of the day, but they believe in a democratic system where competent individuals with character, charisma, and good track records will be able to be voted into the system, elected into the system to change these ugly narratives and see how they can bring a form of democratic sanity into the political dynamics and fabrics of our democracy from this part. So I know people are worried and they are beginning to say that the thing is now causing disaffection, political apathy, and a disturbing circumstance within the socio-political atmosphere of the state. Everything seems to be favoring the APC. In fact, they even criticized statements from the APC national chairman, Gandhi, wanting Ulma Gandhi wanting to he said that Nigeria before 2027 may be a one-party state because they are going to be moving from one state to the other. So although people do not really subscribe to such philosophy, although people believe in a system that thrives on competence, in character, sincerity of purpose, and a system that reflects their collective political patrimony, dreams, aspirations, and a reflection of the ethos of their dreams. So it's becoming a disturbing circumstance. And with the way this current government is going in Edo State, is beginning to be more of an autocratic system of administrative affairs than a democratic one. Because I know people are beginning to question the veracity of democratic tenets from the Senator Modi administration thus far. If you go to the market women are not happy. If you go to the streets, there is pandemonium everywhere, despair, fear. If you go to our multi-parks, people are complaining of how thugs and all manner of non-state actors come to overcharge them, collect money with impunity, and they do not really have a central template to show that this is the policy direction that they want to take that will in turn give the renewed hope that they have been using to sing in the ears of Nigerians. So although people are beginning to see their renewed hope agenda as a more of renewed schedule towards the populace. If you go to the streets of Benin City, sir, if you send messages to your reporters to ascertain the level of civility in the state, they will tell you that everybody, most persons within the city center are living in perpetual fear. And it begins to worry and question the security architecture as well as the developmental indices within which this government operates. Are we living, some persons are beginning to say from some quarters that are we living in a banana republic where anything goes? Because the government seems not to be saying anything. And in most interviews, we always see the likes of Senator Adams come Aliyu Eric Osomole speaking on behalf of the government. And I think some persons in those states are beginning to ask, is Osomole now the mouthpiece of Senator Monday Okpevolo? Because I know people need somebody that can account to them, that can give them hope, give them succor, give them security, give them dividends of democracy, create jobs, improve agriculture, improve the energy sector, so that the development indices in those states can be workable, can be sustainable, and can reflect the dreams, yearnings, and collective aspirations of the good people of Edo State. So generally, sir, from this part, Edo people do not really, there seems to be a disconnection, a lacuna, a gap from between the APC-led administration in Edo State just now and the good people of Edo State in turn.
All right, Bobby, many thanks for being with us. We'll be following updates as to what is happening in Edo State regarding the local government crisis.
Thank you very much for having me. It's always a nice time to be here.
And that's our show for today. Many thanks for watching. We'll be covering all the top political stories right here on LN 24/7. Once again, my name is Morno Balagbobo. Many thanks for watching.